mind. Everything is half price at Davenport Fireworks. Everything half price. Davenport Fireworks, Dalton Pike at the state line.
Hey, Andy Morris here. Join me along with my co-host on The Drive, presented by Hardees, weekdays at 5 p.m. on ESPN Cleveland 101.3. Cleveland and Bradley County's local sports show, weekdays at 5 on ESPN Cleveland 101.3.
From the Kia of Cleveland Studios, this is ESPN Cleveland 101.3, WCLE HD2 Cleveland, W267BI Cleveland, ESPN Cleveland 101.3.
The top of the hour is presented by Best Buy Metals, making the top of your house the best it can be. Visit bestbuymetalroofing.com.
It's time for The Drive on ESPN Cleveland 101.3, presented by Hardees. We will bring you nonstop sports news from the national and local scene and everything in between. So buckle up and join in on the conversation. It's The Drive.
Don't take no slap. Got a thirst for killing. Live your body.
Welcome back to The Drive here on ESPN Cleveland 101.3. I'm Andy Morris along with Jim Gum. And hey, Jim, who's that other guy that's with us today?
I don't think he has a name. I think he's invisible. He's the man from nowhere.
The non-existent co-host, Slim Money Jacob Mason.
Hey, I'm just here so I don't get fined. Yeah, that's my new slogan. Just here so I don't get fined.
Who was that said that?
Marshawn Lynch.
That's right, Marshawn Lynch.
That's right.
When he was doing the press conference, they'd ask questions. You just kind of sat there like you'd rather be anywhere else.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
Yeah,
I'm just here so I don't get fined. Yeah, it was he's one of my favorite players, like in general. Like that beast mode run that he had, and just like his the drive in the golf
his
cart.
mannerisms in general.
Like,
just
he was
the Skittles.
I mean, he was electric. So him being back around the Raiders now that Pete Carroll is there has been fun for me to watch. He came into the interview and started yelling, and Pete thought it was just some random person until he saw Marshawn in the back of the room. So I love me some Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah, the funny thing about Marshawn is that he had literally, when he was with the Seahawks, they designated a guy. This is a true story. One of the team, like, I guess managers, they call them in the NFL, would follow him around on the sideline with a bag of Skittles. It got to a point literally to where, like, the guy was in charge of the Skittles. How funny is that? So, like, he'd go on a long run, be tired, winded, or score a touchdown. He'd come off to the sidelines, and, like, he would bypass the water guy, the water boys, and would get Skittles. I just think that's so funny.
Yeah. And then he would shake him, too. It was always funny to watch him. And then what a great – like, think about how big he probably would have been in the NIL era. Like,
oh my gosh.
Like now, like Skittles would have been all, which they were. They gave him commercials and stuff like that. But I'm just talking about like a college.
As a college kid, listen, him drive when he played at Cal, the infamous golf cart Jacob just mentioned. I believe it was after they beat Stanford. And Stanford was a lot better at the time, so it was a notable.
Jim Harbaugh was coaching there.
Yes, it was a notable win. But he's just on this flatbed golf cart, like just driving around. I bet like Yamaha or Honda or whoever made that golf cart probably would have given him some type of a deal. But
for sure,
one thing we're just going off on Marshawn Lynch tangent here, but he was on Peyton Manning's show. I watched this on ESPN Plus, Peyton's Places, and Peyton met with Marshawn, and Marshawn taught Peyton Manning two completely different individuals. And when you watch this, you'll double over your laugh so hard. But he teaches Peyton Manning how to ghost ride a whip. For those of you that don't know what that is, that's when you're driving and you get out and you walk beside the car and let it keep rolling.
I've seen that. The ones you see are the ones that don't end well.
Yeah,
Those are the ones I always see. Yeah.
And he kept telling Peyton, he's like, "Nah, man, that ain't it. That ain't it." But it was so funny. But yeah, Marshawn Lynch, good character for all of football, college football, NFL. Good way to kick the show off with some laughs, right?
Absolutely, man.
But hey, going into the NBA Finals, it's over. Game 7's complete. Jim, you're right. OKC, you called it. And
I called it both ways, man. I'm not going to sit there and take any credit because the last thing I said,
The most recent one.
the last thing I said on Friday is that the Pacers were going to win.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I
Okay,
did.
okay.
Yes, because listen, you can go back and listen to it. So I did. I've been saying OKC for the first 6 games. Game 7 says, give me the Pacers. Yeah.
Hey,
Kiss of death.
You want to talk about who called it? OKC. That video that leaked of their buses.
Wow.
Already like championship, already
it said
ready.
2025 champions, and it had the trophy.
Yeah.
And it had their OKC logo.
And that was after Game 6.
Yeah, and so the Indiana Pacers coming into their arena saw it.
Oh boy.
And apparently that bus was decorated and designed for their championship parade.
Yeah.
So that's what they were expected to ride in for the parade, and it was already done. And I believe that it was it the GM or the coach of the Pacers said, like, that's all I can think about right now. Like, they had the right fuel going into Game 7, and unfortunately, we're never going to really know accurately what a healthy Indiana Pacer team would have done in that Game 7 because in the first quarter, Tyrese Halliburton suffered a torn Achilles tendon, and that you could just tell.
Yep.
Immediately, the wind was just sucked out of the Pacers.
Yeah, when he went down, there was no question. And the pain that was on him. I've seen multiple guys in my life tear their Achilles tendon, and it's such a painful injury. And it's a little over a year for some guys to come back from. So, I mean, we probably won't see this guy at all in the 2025-26 season because, I mean, he injured it, mid-June.
It just happened, last game of the year.
I mean, that's a tough one to come back from. But, yeah, as soon as that happened, I thought there's no chance Indiana's winning this series.
Yeah, just to kind of stay on Indiana for a second. Again, OKC NBA champs, world champs, winning Game 7 of the NBA Finals last night over the Pacers, 103-91. But going back to the Pacers, after the game, you can tell how tight-knit and why they had the success that they had in the postseason, because that's a group of guys that really cares about each other. And you've got veteran guys coming back around, like Reggie Miller was down in the tunnel greeting every single player as they left the floor, letting them know that he was proud of them. That says a lot about an organization that has people like that stick around, and teammates. Halliburton is booted up on crutches with his hoodie on. Like, he's, as you said, Jim suffered a devastating injury, but he's down there in that tunnel waiting for his teammates to leave the floor. So that goes to show you, props to the Indiana Pacers. They weren't supposed to be in this conversation, and they went 7 games. That's pretty impressive to me.
It is. They went 7 games, but boy, without him all next year, the chances of Indiana making it back have got to have been taking a huge hit. And this Oklahoma City team, they're primed for a pretty decent little run if they can stay healthy.
They're young, man.
Very young. And by the way, I don't know if you saw this, but they had the greatest scoring margin in postseason play in NBA history. And they never lost back-to-back games in the postseason. So this is just a team that's primed to make a deep run again next year. So obviously, it's always one of those things. Can you keep everyone healthy? Can you keep the team together? If they do, I think they really have an opportunity to go to maybe 2-3 more finals in a row.
Yeah, could see the beginning of what could be a dynasty out there in OKC. And their average age, you mentioned it, Jim, 25.6 years old. So that makes them the youngest team ever to not only reach the NBA Finals, but to win an NBA Finals, obviously. So it's a young group that they're so young that when it came to their celebration last night, this is from Rachel Nichols of ESPN, the Thunder definitely popped bottles after winning the title, but it was quick and there wasn't a lot of craziness in the locker room afterward. And then the GM of the Oklahoma City Thunder, Sam Presti, was quoted, "They're not old enough to drink." And I think that is a neat thing. And then they laughed and said the kids went to bed early.
Did you guys see the video? It was side by side of the Florida Panthers celebration winning the Stanley Cup, and then what happened last night. it was completely different, the celebration and what was going on in the locker room.
Yeah, it's crazy, in sports to think about this because there's guys that chase those championships their entire career. They are on multiple different teams, have multiple different shots at it, and never get to do that. And here we have a young group of guys from OKC. They're not even old enough to go down to the store and buy a case of beer to celebrate. It's just a neat. Sports is a neat thing. It brings stories like this that were like, I think of really, really great athletes that never won it. Like Charles
Barkley.
Charles Barkley is the first one that comes to my head, and these guys have that checked off of their career list before they're 21.
You remember Mike Golick from Mike and Mike? He never won a championship, and he said it pained him. And he said that it just pains him because he goes, he couldn't go to a Super Bowl. He was always had access to go to one if he ever won. He goes, I can't do it. He goes, I just can't stomach watching a team celebrate that. I never got that opportunity. It's got to be tough for guys like that have great careers. Dan Marino. He went to a Super Bowl his second year as a quarterback. Never went back.
Yeah, never had another shot.
Ernie Banks never won a championship. There's so many examples of guys like that never tasted a championship. Great players, all-time greats, and it is what it is. But yeah, so guys like that, it's tough on those guys.
So have you ever seen? I like to watch a lot of documentaries, and have you ever seen the ESPN 30 for 30, and it's Shaq and Penny Hardaway, and it's talking about just the early days in Orlando, and Penny Hardaway talked about how and him and Shaq they're tied again, like they're buddies. Those of you that remember Penny Hardaway, the little Penny commercials where they had the Penny Hardaway doll that would kind of interact. It was great marketing, and talk about some NIL stuff. Little Penny would have been a big one for him in college, but they talk about how the relationship between them, their egos got too big, and Shaq ultimately, said, "Oh, you're not going to pay me, then I'm going to go get paid," and that's how he ended up in L.A. And he ultimately he wished he would have spent his career in Orlando. Wish he would have stayed there. But Penny Hardaway talks about how hard it was for him to watch Shaq and Kobe do what they did, because he said, "Listen, I love Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant was a great person, and." A phenomenal basketball player, but every time he watched Kobe have success with Shaq, all he could think is that should be me. That should be me. And that's very telling in sports, just how there's such an emotional side to sports. And talking about celebrations, as a huge baseball fan, one of my favorite things of baseball is how you celebrate every milestone. Like if you get in a wild card, it doesn't matter. We're celebrating, which hopefully our Braves are part of the conversation if they can get their act together. We'll talk more about them here coming up. But like winning the division, winning the division series, winning the league series, winning the World Series, each stage is celebrated. That's something that I hope, also as a big college football fan, I hope that becomes more of a thing, especially now. Most college football players are at an age now where they can celebrate and do certain things. I know you got to be careful on campus what you're doing, but I think every step of the way should be celebrated, each milestone, like it is in Major League Baseball, because that's one of my favorite things is after the game's over, tuning in and watching what Ronald Acuna Jr. is doing in the clubhouse as they celebrate. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of those things where you see different teams. I guess a lot has to do with an unexpected team going deep in the playoffs, or a team that's favored to go deep in the playoffs. A team that's doing an unexpected type thing, you see the more celebration over each little step. Whereas the teams that are favored, they're like, we're not going to celebrate until we win the whole thing. And sometimes it doesn't happen.
But you don't see a lot of that in Major League Baseball. Like you might see a mild celebration from let's say
win the wild card.
Let's say you're talking about the 99 Yankees who were awesome. They expected to be there. They expected to win, but still every step of the way, like they were popping some bottles.
Sure, yeah.
They were holding that trophy up. Each milestone. That's one thing that I love about Major League Baseball. That you celebrate the success, and you should, because there's so much time, and it's a rare thing. It's very rare.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. Andy loves popping bottles. So
That's the message on the drive today, apparently.
Oh, Lord.
Listen, you're a Bulldog. You're a big Georgia Bulldog fan. You guys have had some recent success. You were at the SEC Championship a couple of years ago.
I was at
You were at the National Championship a couple of years ago.
Right?
You what?
In
yeah,
Indy?
in Indianapolis. Yeah, me and my brother bought tickets. Andy was actually in the room when I did it. I said, "Man, I'm doing it. I'm doing it."
I might have talked him into it.
Yeah,
a little
I
bit.
really do. I really do think he did. And I called my wife and I said, "I'm gonna get these before they get any more expensive." And she was like, "All right, I get it. It's a lifetime dream of yours." So me and him went up there and did it. And I got to go back to the team hotel and celebrate with the parents and the players there for a little while. So I'm with you. Like it's really neat, the emotions that sports bring. And I have no shame in saying this. I when Keely Ringo intercepted that ball, I cried. I don't remember him returning the ball because I dropped down to my knees and said, "It's over. We won it.
Yeah.
We finally got that monkey off our back." And I stood up, and he was running across the end zone in front of me. You know, sports is such a special thing. That's why we sit here and talk about them all the time. People want to hear it. People want to experience those things. And so when you finally get to experience them, be in the moment. Like we stayed until literally they were shutting Lucas Oil down. We were there for every moment of it.
I never went to the actual championship game, but I did get to go to Game 2 of the 1990 World Series, Cincinnati and Oakland, and the Reds won that on a double down the line, and a pinch runner, his last name is Bates. He scores a winning run. I was so excited because they had won Game 1. The Oakland A's were supposed to just destroy the Reds, and the
Had
Reds,
the Bash brothers on that team.
and they had Canseco, McGuire. You had all these guys on that Oakland team, and the Reds were just one of those teams that had great chemistry. Eric Davis got the World Series started off good with a home run in the first inning. Then in Game 2, Joe Oliver, the Reds catcher, hits a ball down the left field line, knocks in the game-winning run. They go up 2-0. Then they're going to Oakland. Little did anyone know that the Reds were going to sweep them in 4 straight games. But I'll never forget that, going to the game there in Cincinnati, Game 2. I've got my ticket stub somewhere in my house. It's in one of these boxes I've got. But I'll never get rid of all that stuff.
That's something I miss.
Magical thing.
I miss ticket stubs.
Oh, I do too, man.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Listen, so my son and I, his first Notre Dame football game, we've got the tickets framed and hung up on our Notre Dame wall. We've got tickets from playoff games for the Braves that we still have. That's something that's been lost.
Physical tickets.
Yeah, the artwork that would go into them. And I think some schools, some universities, some teams still offer, if you go to guest services and show your phone, that they'll give you tickets.
Like a commemorative ticket.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I remember getting tickets in the mail for Braves games and being so excited to just hold that sheet of Braves tickets, thinking, "Oh man, it's spring training's almost over. It's about time to go down to the game." And that's definitely an art of sport that has been lost due to technology and cell phones and things like that. But my dad still has a ticket from going and watching Del Murphy play. It's one of the coolest things to see it and be like, "Oh, that's where he sat for that game." That's something that you lose that aspect when you talk about things going digital.
And I used to go to ball games. I'd always buy the game program, just to maybe a commemorative thing, just so I can say, "Yeah, I was there." So, there's a proof, even if I don't have the ticket. I was real bad back when I was younger of discarding the tickets but keeping the programs. I wish I'd have done both. I should have put the ticket inside the program, but I used to throw away the ticket stubs.
Did you go to any of the games of the 90 World Series?
Yeah, that's what I'm just saying.
Oh, so you were in person at Game 2.
Okay. My mother, and I went with her, and my late mother, I should say. And we went to Game 2, and I'll never forget it. That was one of the highlights. My mom, she didn't go to a lot of sporting events, but she got tickets, and
That's cool.
I got to go with her. It was really cool.
Man, that was the Nasty Boys group,
The
right?
Nasty Boys,
man.
yeah. You had Paul O'Neill, Eric Davis, Chris Sabo. Those guys had no business beating the A's. They had no, but they had the pitching, man. Jose Rijo, I'd put up against him against anyone in the postseason. But they had that pitching was really, really good.
They weren't afraid to come inside.
And no, they weren't. And they got some clutch play all year long from that team. So that was, I know the Big Red Machine is what everyone remembers the Reds, but that 1990s team was like no chance. They had no chance to win that series against the Bash Brothers, the A's, and everything. And they found a way.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I was a little kid during all this, but I can vaguely remember some of this stuff. And who was the owner of the Reds then? The lady
Marge Schott.
Marge, that's right.
Yeah.
She was a
an
character.
embarrassment. She was
a character, is what she was.
She was an embarrassment, is what she was. But
Who's worse, her or Jerry Jones?
well, I mean, I don't know. I'm not
You
gonna
put
answer that.
Jim in a hard spot here.
They'd make a great couple. Let's just put it like that.
Or a couple from you know where.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man. So just kind of reminiscing here before we go back to break, hearing you talk about the Reds and being at that World Series in 1990 had me thinking, and Jacob and I, this is a conversation we've had before, but like I remember the 95 World Series when the Braves won, and up until 2021, like one thing that I would always say is like I want to experience that as an adult. Like I want to really be able to remember it and embrace it and enjoy it with my kids. And because so my dad and my grandfather were at Game 6 of the 95 World Series when they won.
That's cool.
Awesome memory for him. And he was also, him and my brother were at the Sid Bream slide game in 92.
Oh, that would be really
Yeah,
cool.
so like I witnessed all this stuff happen on TV, knowing, hey, my brother and dad are at that game, my dad and my grandfather are at this game, and I wanted that so bad. And my wife is awesome. She loves the Braves as much as I do, and we went to some monumental Braves games, some heartbreaking ones. San Francisco series in 10, which was. Felt like we had a team that could have done some business there. But then the wild card infield fly game we're at. So
Oh, my gosh.
I was at all these monumental games, but on the other side. So going back 2021, when the Braves finally won the World Series, my best friend, my son, and I, the three of us went to a World Series game, and it was the game where I believe it was Dansby and Rosario. It was either Dansby and Rosario or Dansby and Soler went back-to-back home runs.
Okay.
Game 4, place erupted, and to be able to have that memory, that moment, to be able to take that in and finally witness some World Series success, and then the Braves went on and eventually won the World Series. It's something that every fan should be able to experience at least once.
Well, and another fun story about that before we head to break. Andy, he tried to get me to go. I told him, I said, man, that was the year that Georgia won. I said, I have spent all of my money on sporting events probably for the next
I'm
little
maxed
while.
out, man.
And so I didn't end up going, but then he took the day off to go down to the celebration. But we had a football game that night.
So he's talking about the parade.
Right,
Yeah.
the parade.
This is a little bit later.
So he goes down to the parade after they've won, and he keeps on texting me, I'm on my way back. Well, where were we? We were in Knoxville.
Knox Halls.
Or
not Halls. It was Knox Carnes, excuse me.
Knox Carnes, yes, because the kid that Bishop that played for UT.
He's running back at UT now.
He took like 40 snaps that night. But for the first 30 minutes, I had to just talk to myself on the radio about the upcoming game.
He did the entire pregame because I wasn't
You
there
weren't
yet.
here yet?
Yeah.
That's funny.
And so
The game was in Knoxville, so I went Atlanta to Knoxville.
Oh, my gosh.
And so it
And
just
hit that Chattanooga traffic.
I
too.
did.
Yeah.
it was just a neat story just because, all of that time was just so much fun as a Braves fan, as a Georgia fan. But then, I just remember sitting there for 30 minutes being like, I probably sound insane because I'm over here talking to myself about, Carnes and Walker Valley. And, it's just a fun little memory.
I got to ask you this, changing the subject just a little bit. When you went to the infield fly roll game, did you participate?
I did
throwing
not.
Stuff
I
on
did
the
not
field?
throw
Okay.
anything. Listen, that's not my style. And my wife and I sat there and we talked about it. She's like, "Are these people seriously going to do this?" Because it kind of started slow. Excuse me. It was gradual, and then it was almost like after the first, 10 aluminum bottles went by, then it was like 200.
Yeah, it got
happened
out of
quick.
control.
And so first of all, we're lucky enough to not get hit by anything, but there was stuff raining down. We're in right field, and it delayed the game. There's a lot of do I understand why the fans were doing it in protest? Absolutely. That was a terrible call. To this day, I still think it was the wrong call. But that's not my style. Let something like that happen, but I definitely was not going to participate. Yeah. But listen, so when Jacob called that Carnes game pregame without me, I probably showed up into that press box smelling like beer and champagne because the Braves on their buses, Tyler Matzik was walking around on the road spraying all of us. And it was what it was. And I showed up on two wheels there in Knoxville and walk in right as he's signing off for the pregame show before the Walker Valley Carnes
We kicked
football game.
off 30 seconds after he walked in the door.
I had this visual of him speeding, getting pulled over by the police. Sir, have you had anything to drink? No, sir.
I promise.
They would have
smell
smelled
of
it.
alcohol
No doubt.
is very strong on you, sir.
Yeah.
That's funny. And then I just had a friend text me and say, Georgia fans don't need anything to celebrate. They'll just drive fast anyway. So
That's good. That's good.
shout out to my buddy Barrett that's listening from Ringgold. So
That's
Yeah.
good.
Hey, with that, we're going to take our first commercial break. When we come back, we've got to talk a little College World Series, talk some Atlanta Braves, and a little plug for Finish Line Radio, which will air Wednesday this week. Talk a little NASCAR there as well. You're listening to The Drive on ESPN Cleveland 101.3.
The Drive will be back after a quick timeout. Stay tuned for more nonstop sports talk on The Drive, presented by Hardees.
When you're craving serious burger goodness, head to Hardee's for the all-new barbecued pulled pork Frisco burger. A charbroiled, quarter-pound, 100% Angus beef patty, topped with 16 hours slow-smoked barbecued pulled pork on toasted sourdough. Only for a limited time at Hardee's. Get a free pulled pork Frisco burger when you download the app and join My Rewards. See app for terms.
Davenport Fireworks has lost their mind. Everything is half price at Davenport Fireworks. Everything half price. Davenport Fireworks. Dalton Pike at the state line.
Hip or knee pain holding you back? There's a new reason to feel hopeful. Dr. Andrew Carlone is now part of the team at Center for Sports Medicine and Orthopedics in Cleveland. He brings advanced training in total hip and knee replacement, including minimally invasive techniques that get you back on your feet faster. Let Cleveland's orthopedic experts help you live your best life. Call 423-624-2696 or go to sportmed.com to book your visit now.
We tend not to think about right now, but right now in front of us is victory over cancer. Right now, cancer research funded by the V Foundation is leading to better treatments and saving lives. When you give to the V Foundation, 100% of your donation goes directly to game-changing cancer research. Victory over cancer is there for the taking. By you. Donate at V.org. Because today's cancer research is tomorrow's victory.
Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
Do your legs feel heavy, tired, or achy? Dr. James Gooden at Milligan Vein offers an office treatment that can make you look and feel better, and your procedure is covered by most insurance. Visit milliganvein.com or call Dr. Gooden today at 423-961-5682.
Davenport Fireworks has lost their mind. Everything is half price at Davenport Fireworks. Everything half price. Davenport Fireworks. Dalton Pike at the state line.
Welcome back to The Drive, presented by Hardees. Join the conversation. Text 423-749-1013. You can also listen anywhere on our website, espncleveland1013.com.
You're listening to The Drive here on ESPN Cleveland. Hope everyone out there is having a good Monday. Hey, Duracell in Cleveland is now hiring mechanical skilled technicians $22 to $27 per hour. Excellent benefits beginning day one. Medical, dental, and vision insurance, paid vacation, holiday pay, 401k, tuition reimbursement, and more. Apply now at Duracell.com. That's Duracell.com. Just a FYI, we do have a guest Tuesday and Wednesday. Tomorrow we're going to have Steve Berkowitz from USA Today, and on Wednesday we're going to have Ross Dellinger from Yahoo Sports. I really like Ross Dellinger. He's a really good writer. I follow him a lot. But Steve Berkowitz of USA Today is going to be on the show with us about 24 hours from now. So anyway, so we got a little College World Series we're getting to get into.
That's it. Hey, listen, we went a little off the road here on The Drive during that first segment. We're talking about all kinds of stuff, but I want to emphasize that Oklahoma City Thunder are the world champs. They won Game 7 of the NBA Finals last night over the Pacers, 103-91. SGA, Hamilton Heights, Chattanooga product. named MVP. So won the regular season MVP, the finals MVP, the championship. Pretty impressive for him. And the whole reason we started the celebration contest conversation was because Jalen Williams had his first beer during the celebration, and there's an image out there of his face because we're talking about these young guys. They've never celebrated before like that, a championship. They've never drank, a lot of them, being underage or at age. I don't even know how old he is, but the image of his face, it was, I think Jacob said, the old bitter beer face commercials.
Yeah, it was like a reverse advertisement. Like you've got the guy at the that was watching Tiger Woods tee off, and he has his own commercial because everybody had their phone out, and he's got the Michelob Ultra there, and then you've got this guy that's like, ugh. It was
funny.
It's really funny.
Okay, so now, Jim, College World Series, something that we weren't very good, any of us, at picking who we thought was going to win. Like we all had 2 or 3 picks, and we were just completely off.
LSU did.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I had them going far, but I didn't have them winning at all.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm such an LSU hater. Like, legit, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to tell you on the show, any LSU fans that are listening, I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. I just don't like LSU. Outside of Shaquille O'Neal playing basketball, there's nothing about that university that I like. I think it's neat, some of the traditions that they have, but they're not. They're on the bottom half of teams that if you've got the ones that you like on the top half, they're definitely near the bottom of the bottom half, not an LSU guy. So congratulations on your World Series, but they would have been the last team that I picked. Now, talent-wise, without a doubt, they were probably group of 4 of the teams that actually made it to Omaha, but I never would have picked them.
Yeah, their 1 and 2 pitchers, are probably going to be top draft selections. The one thing for me, when you've been there and done that, like they have won 2 out of the last 3, I believe. This is their 8th.
Yeah, they won in 2023, and then obviously this one 2025.
And so pitching was the story in both of those. I'm pretty sure wasn't that the Paul Skeens year when he was pitching for them. So, LSU is a great program, baseball wise. What I took away from all of that was the ejection that happened in the first inning.
No, we're going to talk about that for sure.
So I'm pretty hot about it. So I'm kind of excited to talk about it. But LSU had dominant pitching, and when you get to Omaha, what is a home run just about in every other place in the country is not a home run in Omaha. That is a big
morning track.
That is a big park, and so you have to have pitching and base hits, and LSU was just able to string those 2 things together, and Coastal just wasn't able to.
Yeah, this was LSU's 8th all-time College World Series. There's no denying that they're a baseball machine. As I said, obviously winning this one, winning in 2023, as Jacob alluded to, with Paul Skeens leading the way for them, sweeping Coastal Carolina in this year's College World Series, 2-0, and really the SEC's dominance. They've won 6 straight College World Series in a row. That's very impressive. The only other thing that we've seen remotely close to that would be the little run there in college football where the SEC was cranking them out, and Big Ten has entered the conversation now, so things are changing up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it is a dominant conference in baseball for sure. You had Vandy in 2019. Of course, 2020 was wiped out because of COVID. Then Mississippi State 2021, Ole Miss in 2022. LSU in 2023. Of course, last year Tennessee. Then this past weekend, LSU once again. So, Jay Johnson's got a really good program there in Baton Rouge. And their pitching, you got to hand it to them, man. They came through. I mean, they allowed 3 runs in 18 innings. Yeah, that's pretty darn impressive, man. They didn't exactly kill the ball themselves, but man, that pitching was just so good. I mean, 1-0 on Friday, 5-3 on Sunday, I should say, on Saturday and Sunday. So they win the whole thing, and they're one of those programs that they're like the face of college baseball. They're the they're the program in baseball. I know USC's got more national championships, but USC hadn't won one in a long time. LSU's are all modern day, so they've done a great job of reloading each and every year. So they're always going to be one of those teams you just can't overlook them.
Yeah, for sure. Especially in recent history, they've just been so dominant. And again, I need to start thinking this way more often when I make picks live on air. But when it comes to been there, done that, it means something.
There's no doubt.
Like we talked about, like you look at Arkansas, and Arkansas has had talented team after talented team after talented team. And my buddy that's listening right now, Florida State. Florida State has had talented, and they just haven't been able to get over that hump. And guys like that play for a program like LSU, they just go about their business. It's not something that they're worried about. It's not something that's creeping up in the back of their mind. But I know with Arkansas, every time they get to the 8th or 9th inning in a game, they start sweating because they're thinking, oh, Lord, what's going to happen this time?
Yeah, going back in order to 2019, those 6 straight College World Series for the SEC, Vanderbilt in 19, Mississippi State in 21. Obviously, the COVID year was skipped, unfortunately. Ole Miss 22, LSU 23, Tennessee in 24, and LSU this year 25. One thing that stands out to me is that, and we've talked about this last week on the show, a team that's missing is Arkansas. And they are probably one of the top powers in SEC baseball when it comes to coaching staff, when it comes to roster, and they just cannot get it done. That's one of the schools that if there's just if they ever do they do a 30 for 30, it's like, how has this team not won one? South Carolina, not even on this list, they won one. I forget what year it was.
They won 2010 and 2011.
So yeah, that was, I consider that fairly recently.
Oh yeah.
And for Arkansas to not be one of those teams is a head scratcher. And
well, think about this. LSU, they've only been to the World Series 9 times, but they've won it all 8 out of the 9 times. So when they get there, they come away with the trophy almost every time.
And of course, this year LSU and Arkansas in Omaha had some battles. I mean, we could be talking about Arkansas right now, but as Jacob said, been there, done that. Sometimes there's a little merit to that. So, Jacob, I'm going to let you go ahead and set up the controversy with Coastal Carolina and their coach getting ejected in the first inning of Game 2.
Yeah, so, you watch the video, and I am in agreement that you can't argue balls and strikes for the most part until it gets down to where we're at in this current game. You're in an elimination game. You're in the College World Series. There is a long list of words that you probably couldn't say to an official, and you missed 3. Those are not on that list. I don't care if there was a cuss word with it or not. Him saying you missed 3 and then getting ejected because he was warned about arguing balls and strikes. I'm sorry, he's a grown man as a coach who's going out there to make his point known that you've missed a call. Let him be mad, go back to the dugout, and if he comes back again after that same interaction, okay, then we can talk about
then
merit.
You've earned it.
We can talk about merit of arguing. But him coming out of the dugout for the first time to talk to an umpire, the problem is this dude was let go by the MLB. He was an MLB.
That's right.
He was an MLB official. He had 23 ejections.
They put him in the College World Series to umpire
behind the plate, no less.
And his name is Angel.
I know.
Just saying.
Oh, that's a curse.
Yes, it is.
And so I loved that the coach clapped back at him, and then the guy that he bumped, and then gets a 2-game suspension.
He suspended the first 2 games of next season because an umpire tripped over another umpire.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And then him saying, I should not be judged or whatever. I can't remember his exact word. I shouldn't be punished for some grown man's athleticism.
Lack of athleticism. Yeah.
I got hot.
That one might get overturned. I'm just saying,
I think so.
It should. It absolutely should. Especially if you can prove that this umpire has a history of kind of having a power trip,
having a short fuse.
That's an incredible. You're in the first inning of a ball game in the College World Series, and you have tossed a coach because he said 3 words to you that you didn't like. I'm sorry. Like, grow up. Like, get thicker skin, because you're going to have these are very emotional and heated teams that are competing at the top level of their sport, they're going to come out there and let you know if you missed a call.
I umpired around here for 20 years, and people that recognize my name will know this. I took a lot of pride in not being one of those quick trigger umps. My thing was, get it out of your system now, but this is it. No more after this. I'm going to let you have your say now. But my thing is, remember Barney used to say, nip it in the bud?
Yeah.
Nip it in the bud, get it out of your system. But after this is it. And you know this. And I'm telling you right now, if I have to do this one more time, I will eject you. I'm giving you a little leeway. But some of these umpires are just so quick triggered. And they're menace. And they give other umpires a bad rep.
Yeah.
They really do.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about the Angels. Like, it's crazy. Angel Hernandez, what's his, Campos? It's name. Campos.
Yeah.
But like they both had the same problem. They were just stuck in their way, and you made him mad. You went out there and challenged his authority in front of 20,000 people, and so he tossed you in the first inning of an elimination. It blows
Listen,
my mind.
if you know an umpire's name, it's probably not a good thing.
That's right.
Their job, the reason they're outfitted the way that they are, is to kind of blend in and not stand out and not be a focal point of the action.
That's right. The best umpires are the ones you don't even mention them after the game. You talk about the two teams and what happened on the field between the two teams. If an umpire's name is not mentioned, then they had a great day.
And we talked about this back during the high school baseball season. Unfortunately, Bradley was on the end of a call that was probably the wrong call. Do I think that the umpire deserved the amount of grief that he received over it? Not so much. I don't think he went out of his way to make the wrong call in that situation. But I can completely understand where the players for Bradley, where the coaches for Bradley were upset over it. Because if you have a better view than the umpire, a better angle, and you see that a tag wasn't made, you're going to be upset naturally. That's the emotion of sport. We talk about the highs. That's one of the lows of sports when you see something not go your way, intentional or unintentional. And it's a bad thing whenever an umpire tries to go out of their way to not right a situation, because you see this in the major leagues a lot. Umpires will usually own it if they've messed up. This guy, in the Coastal Carolina LSU game, he should have taken his chewing for a second. Yep. And as Jacob said, all right, that's enough, Coach. Hey, Coach, no more or you're gone. You got to give him some heads up. It's the College World Series.
Yeah. I've got a question for both of you.
Yeah.
Okay. The call yesterday of ejecting the manager or the coach of Coastal Carolina, is that worse, or the missed call in the Tennessee UCLA game in the Women's College World Series? Which one's better or worse, I should say, in y'all's opinion? Which one is the worst look for the umpires?
To me, the umpire made that moment about him in the Coastal Carolina
I think
game.
yesterday was a worse look.
Yeah, to me, like he made that moment about him. You challenged his authority. Like, if you Bradley fans, you have every right to be upset. That call was missed, but it was a mistake. It was just a mistake. I don't think anybody was out there. Like, this dude decided, I'm not going to let him talk to me like that, and tossed him. Like, I've been an assistant coach in baseball for 10 years. So sitting in varsity games, I have to keep my mouth shut or I get a warning. John Wilson has the ability to go out there and fight for his kids and say stuff as the head coach. When I'm doing my JV stuff, I have the ability to go out there. That is his right, to go out there and have a conversation man to man with the umpire. He said 3 words and got tossed. Yeah. That is a terrible, terrible, terrible look. And college baseball needs to do something about it. Like, that dude doesn't need to be behind the plate. If he's a good umpire, put him out in the field. But he obviously cannot handle being the head official.
Do we know what conference he typically works in?
Lord, I don't know. I can look that up, though.
I'm just curious if anyone knew. It doesn't matter. His incompetency was on full display on the Sunday, but it is what it is. And I don't know if the coach getting ejected cost Coastal Carolina. We'll never know. We'll never know would they've done anything different than what they did. Well, like I said, it's all hearsay at this point, but it's just, you can't eject a coach in the first inning in the College World Series. You got to have a little bit more leeway.
But I'll say this too, as an athlete. Listen, I played sports for some fiery coaches, man. Played football for Bill Price at Bradley, wrestled for Steve Logsdon at Bradley. Those guys, as an athlete, when you have a coach or a manager that is willing to have your back and listen, it just gives you a sense of confidence and a little bit of adrenaline. It's, okay, coach has got me here. That's such a big deal, and I can see if Coastal's coach was trying to spark that for his team. Bobby Cox used to do it all the time for the Braves. Like people would call him a player's manager because that's what he was. He would go out there and argue things that he probably didn't really need to argue, and they'd say, "All right, Bobby, one more word and you're gone." He'd say, "Well, I'm saying it right now," because he wanted to get tossed.
They want to get tossed
to provide that leadership, that energy, that spark for their players.
I've got your back, guys.
Exactly. Yeah. But listen, if any of you guys that used to play back here in the area back in the day have any bad blood with Jim Gum, we're here at the WCLE studios. We'll be here till 6 o'clock.
I got to tell you a story. This is a true story. I can't remember if it was at Walmart or Target. I'm in one of those two stores, and this guy kept looking at me. He kept looking at me, and I kept noticing him. He finally came up to me. He goes, "You an umpire?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Hey, I just want to say, man, I apologize." He was doing. I'm like, man, I don't have a clue who you are, and I don't remember the situation. I did not take that stuff home with me.
Yeah, you can't.
I did not take that stuff home with me. Yeah, but that was a classic, man. Guy apologizing like in the middle of the winter from something that happened like 4 or 5 months ago.
Yeah, and once again, WCLE Studios right off Mouse Creek Road across from Duracell. Hey, you're listening to The Drive. When we come back, it's all Atlanta Braves. We'll be back in just a moment.
The Drive will be back after a quick timeout. Stay tuned for more nonstop sports talk on The Drive, presented by Hardees.
Your current Milligan Vane temperature is 93 degrees. MilliganVane.com.
Look, up in the sky. It's a bird.
It's a plane.
It's the Trade-In Man.
This is John Davis at Kia Cleveland announcing our summer blockbuster blowout. You don't need to be a hero to pay zero. Zero down. Zero payments this summer. Plus, I need your trade, and I need it today. And I'm willing to overpay. Don't let the credit villains keep you from driving your dream car. At Kia Cleveland, getting approved is a possible mission. Our lenders will say yes to you and yes to your situation. Remember, I'll beat any deal from anywhere in Georgia, Tennessee, or Alabama. Come see me, John Davis, your hero in the car business, at Kia Cleveland on South Lee Highway in beautiful Cleveland, Tennessee, where getting the best deal is as easy as 1, 2, 3.
Looking for the dealer who's gonna give you more. Kia of Cleveland Superstore.
Example 25K4LX. 0 down, $349 per month for 72 months at 4.9% APR. Negative trade equity may be refinanced, subject to lender approval. Offers don't combine. Expires month end.
KiaofCleveland.com.
Davenport Fireworks has lost their mind. Everything is half price at Davenport Fireworks. Everything half price. Davenport Fireworks. Dalton Pike at the state line.
More providers in more places. That's Erlanger Medical Group. More than 500 providers across 70 locations, from primary care to virtually every medical specialty. For an appointment, call 423-778-DOCS. That's 778-DOCS.
Whirlpool Cleveland is currently hiring for entry-level production roles. Starting pay $18.25 per hour, jumps to $19.35 per hour after 90 days. Benefits start on day one, including medical, dental, vision, 401k, life insurance, and more. 120 total hours of paid time off. 10 hours the first 3 months. Remaining balance after 90 days. Apply at jobs.whirlpool.com. Jobs.whirlpool.com.
ESPN Cleveland 101.3 is powered by Duracell. For a quarter of a century, Mix 104.1 has been taking you out to the ball game.
Swanson to first. The Braves are world champions.
Since 2000, Mix 104.1 has been the home of the Atlanta Braves, and we're celebrating by giving away tickets to Atlanta Braves games all summer long. Listen for your chance to call or text to qualify. You can also register at the Mix socials on Facebook and Instagram. Braves 25 is presented by Cleveland Ford. Honest people, honest deals.
Cleveland Tire Center's 49th anniversary blowout with great specials every day, Monday through Saturday. A $200 gift card drawing every Saturday through July 3rd. Cleveland Tire Center, where the name said it all for 49 years. Davenport Fireworks has lost their mind. Everything is half price at Davenport Fireworks. Everything half price. Davenport Fireworks, Dalton Pike at the state line.
Welcome back to The Drive, presented by Hardees. Join the conversation. Text 423-749-1013. You can also listen anywhere on our website, ESPNCleveland1013.com.
Yeah, we got to work on that music, Mason. We got to figure something out there.
Hey, they're not labeled. You know, they're labeled the Drive music, and so it's kind of just like a Russian roulette of what you get.
Hey, talking about getting something, here's your opportunity to text into 423-749-1013 for 4 tickets to the Lookouts versus the Pensacola Blue Wahoos. Listen, the Lookouts getting ready to pull out the wrecker image on the Blue Wahoos. I tell you what, they better watch out as they come up, making their way to Chattanooga. By the way, Lookouts have qualified for the postseason.
I love it, man.
Southern
I knew they
League.
were on the verge, and they had a good weekend, so good for them.
But again, we've got 4 tickets for Tuesday, June 24th. That's tomorrow, right?
That is tomorrow.
Tomorrow's game. 4 tickets for tomorrow's game, 7:15, Lookouts versus the Pensacola Blue Wahoos. All you've got to do is text the Volunteer Ridipest text line 423-749-1013. Text your name and Lookouts. So that's an awesome ticket giveaway there. Excited for our partnership with the Chattanooga Lookouts. Had a good interview last week.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Rich Mazingo, we're going to have him about once every couple weeks or so just to catch up with what's going on with the Lookouts, what's going on in Chattanooga, with the ballpark and all that good stuff. So, yeah, excited. And we're going to go to see the Lookouts on the 8th of July. I'm looking forward to that.
So those of you that are looking for Jim, can't make it over to the studio today,
you know where he's
out there. Know where he's going to be on the 8th of July, and he won't be behind the dish in the blue, will you, Jim?
No. No.
Hey, do you think we can get a hotkey that every time we talk about the Braves, it says, I'm Ozuna from the Braves?
Ozuna from the Braves. Hey, listen, so we do have a hotkey that it's about 2 minutes long. It's about Ronald Acuna. You think we can fit that in here at the end of the show?
Yeah.
But listen, hey, when it comes to the Atlanta Braves, Mayfield Ice Cream is a huge sponsor right here on the Drive. You'll never have a boring bite with Mayfield Ice Cream. Their limited edition ice creams include cherry chocolate chip and banana pudding. They're inspired by traditional Southern recipes and seasonal favorites. Pick some up today at your local grocery store and visit Mayfield online at mayfielddairy.com. Hey, real quick, we're going to send it on over to Ronald Acuna Jr. The Atlanta Braves released this today. And listen, not trying to toot my own horn, but toot. I called this home run that he's about to talk about a little bit. And Jim has given me my props on the show. And yes, Jacob has been present while that's happened. He's been a part of the show. So something we're having a little bit of fun with. But Jacob, you ready for us? Yep. Ronald Acuna Jr.
My first game, I think I hit a homer in the first pitch. ACL 2 times, another surgery. Oh my God! I say, why me? I don't know why, but the most important thing is I'm here. In the dugout, my hand swelling. My first game, I need to complete all expectation, put a sprays, and now let's go.
And here he is, Acuna Jr. The long-awaited moment. Acuna back to the plate.
I can't explain. Another emotion, man. When I put on that uniform, I feel it like a beast. I can play better. I can help my team now. I want to remind the people who Ronald Acuna is. Like what I said before, I tell him to my dad, to my old brothers, to my teammates. I think so. I hit a homer in the first pitch because I feel it,
A sight for sore eyes. as Acuna is back in that batter's box and ready to take his first hacks at the major league level.
He threw me the first pitch, fastball right over the middle. I hit a homer, believe me. And you know what happened.
Look at this! Are you kidding me? Is this real life? It's a home run by Acuna. He is back! This place is delirious.
I rolled the base. I say to those guys, bro, I can't believe that. And I see him with the guy, I'm in shock. I can't believe. The pressure is first pitch, first swing. I'm back. Now it's time to work.
And listen, since that moment, Ronald Acuna, first pitch he saw coming back from that ACL injury, hitting the home run, he has been on an absolute tear. And as of recent, he has now moved up to 4th place in all of outfield polling for the All-Star game, which, of course, is going to be held there at Truist Park in Atlanta, the 2025 All-Star Game. And this is phase 1 of the voting, by the way, that has been released. And sitting at number 4, that's pretty impressive for a guy that missed the first several weeks of the season.
I mean, he's hitting .396, guys. He's just one hit away from being at 400. 8 homers, 15 RBIs with a 1.20 OPS. So he's just absolutely raking. And, gosh, I know that, the Braves didn't have a great weekend, but, man, can you imagine how much worse they would be had he not been back? I mean, seriously, he has really carried this team multiple games since he's come back.
Yeah, and speaking of the weekend, over the weekend, the Braves dropped 2 of 3 to the Marlins. Down there in the 305 down in Miami. Lost game 3 yesterday, 5-3. Bryce Elder, not his best stuff, took the loss, went 5 1/3 innings, allowed 10 hits, 5 runs, walked a batter, only 4 strikeouts. So, listen, with the big news of Chris Sale, those of you that haven't heard this, Chris Sale was put on the 15-day IL over the weekend due to a fractured left rib cage that he suffered in his last start against the Mets, making a spectacular diving catch there in the 9th inning. Guys like Bryce Elder have to step up. You can't afford to have bad outings when you finally kind of got yourself back into that wild card conversation.
Yeah, I think it's important that multiple guys step up because, Chris Sale was far and away their most reliable pitcher. His record doesn't indicate how good he's pitched all year, Jacob, because he's had so many starts where he didn't get any run support, but he is absolutely such a vital cog to this Atlanta Braves pitching staff.
Yeah, it's just such a head scratcher, man. You sweep the Mets, first place Mets, and then you lose a series to the Marlins. The inconsistency is just it's almost hard.
It's frustrating.
It's hard. I had so much confidence after that Mets sweep. We talked about it on the show.
Everyone, they should have.
You felt like you flipped the page just to go back and peek at the page before. It's frustrating.
At the very least, you thought they'd win 2 out of 3. At the very least,
yeah.
You probably were expecting a sweep. Were you not?
Yeah.
I was expecting to win the series.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think my expectation was 2 out of 3. Now, we should have swept them, but my expectation was 2 out of 3 because I knew
realistic. One guy like Bryce Elder can have a bad day.
Yeah.
When your starting pitcher has a bad day, sometimes it's hard to win ball games. Grant Holmes though did his job in the lone win down there in Miami. 5 2/3 inning pitched, only allowed 5 hits, no runs, and 5 strikeouts. Drake Baldwin, Acuna, Ozuna, all 3 of those guys had 2 hits in the win, and that's something that we're going to talk a lot more about this in depth tomorrow. I want to see how tonight goes for Game 1 up in New York. But Michael Harris is a guy who's been a complete liability to this lineup. We talk about how good his defense is. offensively, he is struggling big time.
He is.
We're going to talk about that a little bit tomorrow, and I hope we're saying, hey, forget that conversation. What a big night from Michael Harris.
You know, they're going to New York, and they're 13-26 on the road. They're losing 2 out of every 3 games they play. You cannot do that. You've got to be better than that. Nobody expects you to be, like the opposite, 26-13 on the road. You're supposed to be around 500 on the road and then make your hay at home. But 13-26, they've got to do better on the road.
You want to hear another crazy stat? The Braves played their 31st consecutive game without converting a save yesterday against the Marlins, the franchise record since the start of that official stat in 1969.
It's crazy.
That's
wild.
Are you kidding me?
That is wild.
So, the last save was on May 16th at Boston. So,
I did not know that.
So
that's crazy.
That just kind of shows you where the state of the Braves have been, and that's why I think we were all so excited. I don't know.
I wonder how many save opportunities they've blown in that period of time. I know several. I know there's been several. It doesn't say that in that story there, but that's an incredible stat.
The Braves remain 7 games back in the wild card.
Well, they were 5 back on Friday when we left here.
So technically not out of the mix, but they've got to be probably the best team in baseball from this point on, with hopes to compete for the division or even that wild card. They've got to clean a lot of stuff up. That starts tonight. The 35-41 Braves are third in the NL East, 11 games back in the division, and the road trip continues as they make their way to Flushing. I like throwing that out there. Flushing, New York, to take on the Mets, who are 46-32. Mets have lost 2 of their last 10. They're 2-8 over their last 10 games, and a lot of that is due to the Atlanta Braves. Hopefully they can keep it going tonight with the success against the division rival. Spencer Schwellenbach on the mound. He's 5-4, 3.26 ERA, taking on Paul Blackburn, who's 0-1 with a 6.92. We lit this guy up the other day. You'll be able to catch that here on ESPN Cleveland pre- and post-game show. Also on Mix 104.1, presented by Mountain View Nissan of Cleveland. So we're definitely going to talk a lot more Atlanta Braves tomorrow. We're running a little late today, but as always, appreciate everybody listening on all of our platforms. For Jim Gum, Jacob Mason in the building, absolutely here today. I'm Andy Morris. We'll be back with you tomorrow.
Your new home for 24-hour sports coverage. ESPN Cleveland 101.3. It's time for a Don Ledford of Cleveland traffic update on ESPN Cleveland 101.3. Don Ledford Chevrolet Buick GMC, located on North Lee Highway in Cleveland. Or visit donledford.com for details. Don Ledford, where we say yes. It's on-time traffic with Commander Chuck.
Good afternoon. Traffic's on the increase, even more now on M. Nicola. Certain sections there are going outbound. It's been another busy day in the construction. Be careful throughout the evening on 75 here at East Brainerd Road, especially northbound, as that traffic continues to push up through Cleveland, Bradley County right now on 75 going northbound. Hey, Wheeling Family Chiropractic, that's where I go there off Shallowford. If you have lower back pain, call 4990102. Wheeling Family Chiropractic, they are the best. I'm Commander Chuck with your on